Preface of Democracy and Education. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by timferreira. Democracy and Education by John Dewey. Preface. The following pages embody an endeavor to detect and state the ideas implied in a democratic society, and to apply these ideas to the problems of the enterprise of education. The discussion includes an indication of the constructive aims and methods of public education as seen from this point of view, and a critical estimate of the theories of knowing and moral development which were formulated in earlier social conditions, but which still operate, in societies nominally democratic, to hamper the adequate realization of the democratic ideal. As will appear from the book itself, the philosophy stated in this book connects the growth of democracy with the development of the experimental methods in the sciences, evolutionary ideas in the biological sciences, and the industrial reorganization, and is concerned to point out the changes in subject matter and method of education indicated by these developments. Hearty acknowledgments are due to Dr. Goodsell of Teachers College for criticisms, to Professor Kilpatrick of the same institution for criticisms, and for suggestions regarding the order of topics of which I have freely availed myself, and to Miss Elsie Ripley Clapp for many criticisms and suggestions. The two first named have also been kind enough to read the proof sheets. I am also greatly indebted to a long line of students, whose successive classes span more years than I care to enumerate. John Dewey, Columbia University, New York City, August, 1915. End of preface. Chapter 1 of Democracy and Education. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Tim Ferreira. Democracy and Education by John Dewey. Chapter 1. Education as a Necessity of Life. 1. Renewal of life by transmission. The most notable distinction between living and inanimate beings is that the former maintain themselves by renewal. A stone, when struck, resists. If its resistance is greater than the force of the blow struck, it remains outwardly unchanged. Otherwise, it is shattered into smaller bits. Never does the stone attempt to react in such a way that it may maintain itself against the blow, much less so as to render the blow a contributing factor to its own continued action. While the living thing may easily be crushed by superior force, it nonetheless tries to turn the energies which act upon it into means of its own further existence. If it cannot do so, it does not just split into smaller pieces, at least in the higher forms of life, but loses its identity as a living thing. As long as it endures, it struggles to use surrounding energies in its own behalf. It uses light, air, moisture, and the material of soil. To say that it uses them is to say that it turns them into means of its own conservation. As long as it is growing, the energy it expends in thus turning the environment to account is more than compensated for by the return it gets. It grows. Understanding the word control in this sense, it may be said that a living being is one that subjugates and controls for its own continued activity the energies that would otherwise use it up. Life is a self-renewing process through action upon the environment. In all the higher forms, this process cannot be kept up indefinitely. After a while, they succumb, they die. The creature is not equal to the task of indefinite self-renewal. But continuity of the life process is not dependent upon the prolongation of the existence of any one individual. Reproduction of other forms of life goes on in continuous sequence, and though, as the geological record shows, not merely individuals but also species die out, the life process continues in increasingly complex forms. As some species die out, forms better adapted to utilize the obstacles against which they struggled in vain come into being. Continuity of life means continual readaptation of the environment to the needs of living organisms. We have been speaking of life in its lowest terms, as a physical thing. But we use the word life to denote the whole range of experience, individual and racial. When we see a book called The Life of Lincoln, we do not expect to find within its covers a treatise on physiology. We look for an account of social antecedents, a description of early surroundings, of the conditions and occupations of the family, of the chief episodes in the development of character, of signal struggles and achievements, of the individual's hopes, tastes, joys, and sufferings. In precisely similar fashion we speak of the life of a savage tribe, of the Athenian people, of the American nation. Life covers customs, institutions, beliefs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?